before you continue this video, I have a disclaimer. The video you're about to watch about this site was recorded in October of 2024, and I wasn't sure that I was ever going to release it because I'm much harsher than I'm used to being in public. So I want to clarify, the issues that I'm about to talk about are largely resolved in the last couple of months. Much thanks to the couple of individuals that I've been working with at SolarEdge, my SolarEdge rep, and the field technician that I've been talking with. But the reason I'm still releasing it is because while those issues are resolved, there's always new ones. For instance, there was a communications issue that I think is just a firmware issue. I'm not going to get into the details, but there's been a couple of inverters that tech support has been saying they have stuck packets. Stuck packets will clear them, check back. It'll be fine. It doesn't resolve. It go over and over for weeks, for months, since November. Only in the last week has it actually resolved for inverter 5 over there, even though I still have it on other sites. But not before tech support recommended that I take inverter 5 and just make it a leader, run another Ethernet cable, which I don't have an output for. I'm not gonna get sidetracked. It's actually been such a frustrating issue that I made a t-shirt about it, and you could buy it at solarboy.com/shop. It's just this part. I thought it was maybe a little bit wordy, but if you like the words, comment down below and I'll post that to the site too. And I'm here for like another couple of issues. Inverter 3's doing something strange again. I had to replace an SPD. It's just, my point is, even though the issues that I'm about to talk about are resolved, it's still symbolic of a larger quality control and technical support issue that SolarEdge has and has had for a long time. I also want to be clear that my ire is aimed towards SolarEdge as a company, not at the people on the ground, the people that I've been working with. They have been clearly doing as much as they possibly can given their role in the org chart, which is gonna be limited. So with that, I present to you, SolarEdge is bad and should feel bad. Hey there, solar folk. I am the Solar Boy, and today we are going to be doing some SolarEdge replacements. Finally! This system for us has been a problem more than most systems. Now, SolarEdge in general has a pretty terrible track record for reliability, especially at first. Most of the SolarEdge systems we install, we typically have a couple of failures right away, like within the first few months, and it's been that way for probably years. But this one we have 5 Synergy inverters, the ones with the 3 heads. I called them Hydras because that seems like a fun name. But of the 15 total inverter units here, I think we've so far replaced 3 of them. I've replaced a comms board, actually might have replaced 2 comms boards. And today we're replacing 3 inverter units, 1 Synergy manager, and 4 optimizers. We'll see how far I can get through that today. And you know what? I'm realizing I'm pretty sure I've got 2 Synergy managers here and only 2 inverter units. So I gotta go talk to tech support about that. Anyway, come along for the day and we'll get through this together and I'll give you some more backstory on what's been up with this job. Okay, not to bring this video to a standstill already, but I am waiting to hear back from the field engineer I have a contact with at SolarEdge to figure out where these Synergy managers go to, because this job has just been a mess. And I might as well talk to you about it while we're waiting. This system was installed early this year. We had some metering issues early on, but that was install error, improper communications, things like that, as well as some stuff with the power company messing with our communications lines. But it was fine for a few months after we turned it on. And then in July, it's end of October now, we started having inverters go down. Boom, boom, we lost 2 inverters. I was off work at that point. Somebody else came out and found that there were fuses blown in a couple of the upper cabinets. So we're like, okay, well, we'll replace these inverters. That's kind of crazy that we lost 2 at once, but we replace them. It's fine. Next week, the next week after we replace them, more inverters go down. In the course of reinstalling one of these inverters, we start having comms issues with one of them. I think that was inverter 3. These inverters, obviously, you have to connect with your smartphone in order to set them up. And we were having the issue where setup was just sort of continually loading, and then you do that for a while and it bricks the comms card. And depending on the level of expertise you have out troubleshooting that can send you in a tailspin for a while trying to figure out, can I get in this? Talking to customer support, they're like, well, we can still see it in monitoring, it should be fine. And so it's a fight to get those comms boards replaced sometimes. But we get that one comms board replaced, there's another inverter that goes down, like a week later. We start losing a couple optimizers. Losing optimizers, that's not a huge deal, that happens. That's just the nature of optimizer systems. But it's this rolling cascade of things going wrong, right? And every time we try to fix something, something else breaks, like the comms card. We have inverter 2's comms card has been real funny for a long time, and we hadn't been able to get a replacement for that until recently. That's what I'm pretty sure one of these is for. And because of that, we've had the power company come out and mess with our communications because they can't see through the whole line of inverters because inverter 2's weird. And so we get to a point where now the customer is understandably pretty upset. We install the system, they're expecting it to work. They're not expecting catastrophic failures. I mean, it's not catastrophic. Fuse is blowing, it's not catastrophic, but the inverters are not producing. So we've had several times when we have like 20% of the system is just not producing for an extended period of time. Or you can't see whether it's producing or not because of comms card issues. Right about that time, like June, July, August, somewhere around there, something happened with SolarEdge's tech support. It's like they either hired a bunch of new people or they completely changed call centers, or I don't know. Something changed higher up and they made a bunch of changes to how people are expected to go through the troubleshooting process. It felt like we were talking to people who had far less experience with SolarEdge than we did. And when you're calling into tech support, expecting that they have secret knowledge that you need to be able to solve the problem that you're dealing with, and they tell you things like, you need to run RS-485 individually to every single inverter or to every single meter, that's just bonkers. That's not how RS-485 works. I mean, yeah, it will work. It's not going to make the situation better. And we would get different answers depending on who answered the phone. Absolutely mind-numbingly crazy. And of course, for every single one of these tech support calls, you are waiting a minimum of a half hour to talk to somebody. And then when you do talk to somebody, you're like, well, let's spin the roulette wheel, see if we found somebody who might know something. Also, this job is 2 hours away. So we're coming out, we're troubleshooting, we're replacing a couple of inverters. We fix something breaks. We sit on tech support for 2 hours. We drive back, we do it the next week. We keep, it doesn't stop. And so finally I'm like, okay, we need to pause for a second. And by this time, we're in the fog of replacements, right? If you've done service, you probably know what I'm talking about, where you have a site where you have a bunch of things you need to replace. And once you get past like 3 at a time, it starts becoming fuzzy. Like, okay, it's much harder to keep straight which inverter is getting replaced, which comms board is getting replaced. And when you're doing trips constantly, like, it is a fog of war, man. So it's all been very frustrating. And like, we do have a SolarEdge rep, and he has been helpful. We do now have a better process for if we're having issues getting something approved by tech support, we go to him, he can get it escalated, but it's still like, it feels slow. Even though it's more direct, I still have a couple of middlemen that I need to go through in order to maybe magically get my problem solved. And I still don't have anybody from SolarEdge out here to take a look at what is going on. I don't have any explanations about why are these inverters failing. We've had at least a 25% failure rate, if not 30, 40%. One of these inverters is replacing an inverter that's already been replaced. And this is why I am waiting to get confirmation from a field engineer of which piece here goes where. Because I thought I knew, and now I don't, and now I need to make sure, absolutely sure, that I am following what they want me to do 100%. Because I'm tired of all of this. I'm like 95% sure that none of this is our fault, but once you get past replacement 8 or 9, you really need to make sure that it's not your fault. He still hasn't texted me back yet. I'm gonna have to call him. Yeah, still not available. We'll just wait. And what's flabbergasting to me about this is, like, yes, there are going to be, every inverter manufacturer has duds, has bad products, you know, initial products off the line that have failures at a higher rate than normal. Everybody does it. SMA, their first round of Core 1s was not good. SMA's first round of Dash 40 residential inverters, also not good. They did end up fixing it. We did a lot of replacements of those and they stabilized and it ended up being okay. Enphase, classically, for the first decade of their life, they couldn't keep a reliable microinverter on the market. And they have finally gotten to the point where, I haven't used Enphase in a while, so correct me if I'm wrong, but they seem pretty stable. But in every situation, you can usually find some higher level person to talk to, right? Find some higher level person to talk to directly about your concerns. They can make you promises that are perhaps out of the ordinary. Do a deal where, like, okay, we're gonna replace every single thing on this property. That happens. That's good customer support. It's rare and it should be rare, but at some point you need to do that as a company to, like, get your fingers in the pie of this soup that is really bad tasting, and this is a crazy analogy and forget it. But I went to RE+. One of the reasons was to talk to SolarEdge specifically about this job. Now, I was supposed to talk to our normal rep. He wasn't there for some reason. So I got to talk to somebody who was a little higher up, and you all know I have an opinion about SolarEdge, right? So in these conversations, I try really hard not to let my opinion color that conversation. Every person is different. They all have stuff that they're dealing with. My opinion of the company ought not to reflect on the person I'm talking to. That person's just trying to do their job. He kept asking things like, oh, have you gone through have all of your technicians, all of your installers gone through our training course? And those questions, reasonable questions, but when I'm coming to you with a situation where most of your inverters are dying on a site and we cannot get good technical support, maybe jump past that part of the questioning. And yes, of course I'm trained. I've been working with SolarEdge for a decade. Not exactly a decade. 8 years, probably. I will be generous and say 6 years. 6 years is still a long frickin' time to work with your product and see and know how it works. Yes, I've done the training. And so I am there asking, pleading for help and somebody to come to site to talk with the customer, to take a look at our installation, to give us some assurance of what in the world is going on. And towards the end of the conversation, he starts agreeing to some of these things, like, yes, we'll try to make a presence to site. Oh, he's calling me. All right, he's gonna look into it. So that's good. I don't know, what am I even talking about anymore? The things that I got that SolarEdge representative to say at RE+ have not followed through. That has been like, no, we're not gonna do that afterwards. And now I'm back to just go through tech support, escalate with your sales rep, try to talk to field engineers if you can. And I have, and I'm trying to use all of my contacts responsibly. I know I can contact people far higher in the org chart, but at the same time, those aren't always the people for this kind of thing. And I don't want to piss people off. I'm not mad at the people, I'm mad at the organization and somebody in the organization that is not following through with proper customer support and manufacturing quality. Like, it's bigger than a person, which is why I'm making this video. I don't know what else to do. There is clearly not a division in SolarEdge that is focused on really weird cases. All right, hey, good news. I got some direction now. I can't make this up. I don't know what to do. So only one of these inverters is tasked to a replacement, and that is for the middle one for inverter 1. So we can do that. One of these synergy managers is for inverter 5. I don't know where we have a comms board for inverter 2. And one of these inverters just doesn't have a home yet, so waiting to hear. This all came through in the same shipping packet. I don't know if they sent me an extra one, which honestly, that'd be super rad if they did. But we might as well get working instead of jawing. I can jaw while I work. So this is marked for replacement, this is marked for replacement, and this is marked for replacement. And I know that there's one of these inverters is not working. Pretty sure this inverter's not working. We'll see if this one's fixed by replacing this. I don't know why this one's getting replaced, but sure, why not? Makes me really glad I checked, because if I just went based off of my gut, there's no way this one was gonna get replaced. I feel completely validated now. I guess we're taking them all off because this is getting replaced. You'd think there'd be some group in SolarEdge that would be dedicated to chasing down weird issues that customers are seeing. It doesn't need to be a big group. Theoretically, the load on that group would not be so big that, you know, it'd be a massive hit to your budget. But the fact that I can't get someone to specially investigate this site means that either they don't have some sort of task force that works on this kind of stuff, or this kind of problem is extremely widespread. And what concerns me about that is that SolarEdge is one of the biggest inverter manufacturers in the US. If SolarEdge can't get their shit together, it puts a bad name on every single solar company. You thought the solar bros were bad, but if the people that actually bought solar and were happy with it are suddenly dealing with the fact that their solar doesn't produce, period, it's a bad look. It's a real bad look. Good inverter, not to be replaced. And why do you install it like that? SolarEdge has had so long to come up with a better design for this. Come here, look at this. You gotta hang all three next to each other. The only way to fasten these is with that screw there. That screw is blocked by the plate on the first one. First off, the screw is blocked by another inverter sitting next to it, which is the primary method of installation. So either you gotta get in here with the channel locks, or you gotta, I don't know, do something funky. This design has existed for over a decade. Say it with me, like it's been probably 15 years for this style of like upper body, even though the disconnect has changed over time. Make a mechanism for screwing it or fastening it from the top. You're gonna need to have headspace for ventilation regardless. Figure out how to do it from the top, because I'm just not removing that. Is it probably faster? I don't know. There's no easy way out. Given that this is theoretically, ow! But given that this decision here was probably made for serviceability reasons, how nobody is thinking to change stuff like this? I'm sorry. I really am just whining about SolarEdge now. I probably need to go to therapy. There we go. That is not getting reinstalled. Can I get this one? Nope, sure can't. Here we go again. Off we go with the bad inverter. There. Up with Mr. Good Inverter. Get in there. There you go. That's a good girl. Hurry up with this up here. Here's this. First inverters, not so bad. Sixth time you lift an inverter that high, start feeling it, baby. Clear all this off and make way for the extraction. I will say, one of the nice things, you don't really need to worry about the wires touching each other. It's dead. It is pretty easy. All things considered, it's not worth it. But, you know, I gotta take my wins where they come. Man, I can't believe I gotta do 2 of these things today. Wow, man, I have not installed one of these specifically before. What is this? I mean, yes, objectively, way better than it used to be. It's still, when you're trying to bring copper wires into a thing, maybe leave a little bit more room. All right, someone from install is gonna hear about that one. How many screws do you need to hold in a wire box? All right, now we're getting loose. Now we're getting somewhere. And come on, get off there, you son of a... There it is. Woo! Now we get to put one all back together. Whee! All right, I gotta drill holes in it. Oh, hey, actually, you can just unscrew those. I'm an idiot. I should have simply unscrewed it from the bottom and left the conduits in. See, that's what they teach you in the training courses. Clearly, I haven't taken one in a while. It is interesting how whenever I start posting stuff about SolarEdge, mostly things that I don't like about them, I never get defenders of SolarEdge. More just people saying, well, what's the alternative? Or people comparing Enphase to SolarEdge, which, again, is not really my game. Enphase versus SolarEdge isn't the proper way of thinking about it. There's many other options, but Enphase and SolarEdge is sort of the easiest option to get into if you're first starting out as a solar contractor. Takes care of any regulations you need to follow, sort of out of the box. I'm sure their sizing is really well honed. You don't need to think as much about the qualities of the panel, because optimizers theoretically take care of a lot of that for you. And there's probably more copy-paste in terms of design. Like, it's probably easier. But when I talk about bad things about SolarEdge, I never get people to be like, I can't believe you could say this about SolarEdge. That's never my experience. They're rock solid. Most of my comments say things like, yeah, I can't believe SolarEdge continues to slack on quality. Now, to gently set this monstrosity upon its home. We're gonna gently not pinch anything back here and gently down. Yes. Quite lovely. I think I can deal with that. And it's been, you know, a couple hours now that I've been working on this and waiting to hear back from field technician contact, and nothing yet about that extra inverter and what it's doing here and if I can use it for something. That person's actually, I think, on vacation right now, and the notes were not good enough for us to know exactly what he was RMAing and what I'm supposed to be using to replace what. The tech I was talking to said, oh, the screenshot that he sent me has these serials noted. He just read them off to me. That's my number. Text them to me. He hasn't. Asked him to send it over. He hasn't. And look, I get it. He's doing field work. He should not be doing tech support for me. And it is unfortunate that I am making him do that, and I'm trying not to. But when I don't have another option, SolarEdge, I don't know what you want for your field technicians. If this is the way, I gotta get my job done. I came today telling my customer that, yeah, I think we have enough stuff to be able to get everything resolved that is currently open right now. And I don't know that that's the case, actually. They're gonna be really happy to hear that. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'm a little apprehensive of what this is gonna look like when I turn this on. Yeah, we've replaced 2 entire parts of this, but I've come back to this site too many times at this point. I've replaced too many of these things. I haven't replaced any of these yet here. Maybe this is the magic cure. Again, I don't know why we're replacing this one. Nobody really gave me reasoning for that, so I'm just doing it because they're telling me to. I really was not wanting to come out here and whine. I was sort of hoping I'd come out here, start taking a video, and then realize, you know what? This site is fixed now. It's fine, it's not worth it. But I'm doing it for posterity anyway, damn it. Because SolarEdge seems to really like the smell of their own farts. I think most of the industry is starting to get hip to that, at least the people that know what they're talking about. All right, here we go. Let's turn it on. We'll wait for it to power up, and then we'll set it up, see what we can do. Scan this baby in, and setup time. You know what's really fun about my time at RE+? Right before that meeting that I had with whoever the top dog was, before the meeting started, I walked up to the counter being like, hey, I'm table, whatever the number was. And I did have my Solar Boy stuff on. I was kind of nervous that somebody would recognize me. People came up to the counter and started chatting me up while they were trying to figure out where the meeting was. And it turned out to be their marketing people. SolarEdge's marketing people started talking me up. They mentioned, oh yeah, we like your content. I'm like, really? Really, you like my content? If you're familiar with my content, you know I don't like you very much. And they're like, yeah, we know. But you know, any publicity is good publicity. Well, okay then. I'm glad you like it. And then they had the absolute nerve to like ask about how we can partner. I don't understand. I could see a situation where I might shill for a company that isn't my favorite, but I don't feel bad about, you know, taking their money and advertising for them. But I mean, if you followed me for a while, and apparently these people at SolarEdge have, one would think that my opinion might come across strong enough that you might not ask that question. Maybe we talk about the things that we can change about SolarEdge first. Maybe first we talk about SolarEdge's incessant lobbying of the codes and heckling at NABCEP. Like I wasn't at NABCEP this year, but during like 3741 sessions, SolarEdge employees were full on heckling. What kind of company are you? Seriously, let's talk about this. You are an extremely well-known solar company, and you are using the solar industry to further your own purposes and nobody else's. Your company is doing that. Of course, as a company, you're going to bring your own opinion to the codes. Of course, you're going to push stuff that helps your company prosper, but at the expense of the rest of the solar industry. You are doing this, SolarEdge. If you work for SolarEdge, you are enabling this monster of a company to continue to put the solar industry further into their grips, at least in the United States. I know SolarEdge is pushing in other countries too. They are not satisfied with rapid shutdown in the United States. They will push globally if they possibly can. And the more that they do that, the more demand that they're gonna have to fill. The less they're going to be able to keep their quality control under control. Because I noticed a difference in 2019 when we all had to start installing SolarEdge. You can't keep up with demand, and yet you're pushing to further monopolize the industry. How dare you come over and ask if I can partner with you? Let's start by releasing some inverters that don't need optimization. Inverters that don't require that if they go bad, you have to install them with SolarEdge inverters. Let's maybe not heckle at NABCEP. Let's maybe not pay for ads in magazines that you use to make it look like it's a technical article when it's really just promoting SolarEdge and trying to badmouth 3741. Let's maybe try to be a good citizen of the solar industry before we find ways to partner, yeah? Now, on a brighter note, so it is currently updating firmware on the manager and one of the CPUs, I guess. But anyway, that's gonna take some time. I do kind of want to wait and make sure that this boots up. We fix one thing at a time, slowly, so we don't get ahead of ourselves, so we don't accidentally screw anything up, so that if something gets screwed up, we know it is not our fault. 15 minutes. Stand by, I gotta put some stuff away.
Much later.
All right, so it has been longer than 15 minutes for this starting up. I had another talk with field engineer and got some more details ironed out, which is good, thank goodness. When they went through and RMA'd inverters last time, they went through and RMA'd the unit itself as well as the Synergy Manager for both inverter 1 and inverter 5. Which I ain't got a problem with that. I'm okay with replacing a bunch of bits as long as they decide to communicate later, which they are not. So unfortunately, inverter 4 over here, which also is dead, that needs replaced at some point, doesn't get an inverter replacement today. I did swap a fuse in so that maybe it can run for a bit to make sure that the array itself, that we have all the optimizers found that we need to. But we're gonna do the same thing down in inverter 5 that we did here. And that will easily take us through the end of the day, and then I'll have to do optimizers tomorrow, I guess. But I really want this one to work before I dive into inverter 5, because if replacing one of these Synergy Managers takes this entire 3-headed beast down, I'm gonna then wait to do inverter 5. All right, we're gonna shut this off, I think, and start it back up again. It's always nerve-wracking. Shutting it off and turning it back on, presumably after it's updated all the software, you hope, because you'd hate to brick the thing. Oh, the other thing they had me do is go down through and make sure all of these units have fuses. So for a while, there were not these AC fuses in these cabinets before. But then like a year and a half ago maybe, they started putting fuses in, because if one of these fails, and it fails dramatically enough, it can take out not just other units through this AC connection, but it can also take out these synergy managers, which is why they're having us swap both the unit and the synergy manager for this situation. The other thing I'm doing, I forget if I mentioned this, but for inverter 4, the only reason that we're replacing these inverters is because these fuses are blowing for some reason. So for inverter 4, for now, just replacing the fuse. That will at least get the inverter on to let us see what are all the optimizers doing up there. At some point, probably that fuse will blow again, but we'll start a preemptive RMA before that happens. A lot noisier with the covers off. Come on, boot up, boot up. That's concerning. Nope, it's still booting. There we are. Let's try this one more time here. Boy, it really doesn't want to join that Wi-Fi network. It sees it, doesn't want to join it. Guess we gotta reset the Wi-Fi or something. We gotta hold this for 30 seconds. 1, 2, 14, 15. Okay, I think that's it. All right, we're gonna retry this. Please work, please work. Unable to join the network. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. I do all the things, I do all the steps correctly, and then something else stupid doesn't work. What do you tell a customer for something like this? Like, yeah, I see the Wi-Fi network right here. Doesn't want to join the network though. Why? I don't know. I might as well at least try to pair it, I guess. But you can bet your boots I'm not going to touch inverter 5 today if this is what this is going to do. I'm just basically gonna need to end up waiting to do literally anything else until field engineer can come out. I did blindside him with like, oh, we're going out today because, you know, wanted to get this stuff in for the customer if possible. And, you know, he's already booked probably 2 weeks out. So I get it if he's not able to come out like right away, but now I'm just gonna be stuck for a couple of weeks until he gets out here. Because yeah, I'm not doing inverter 5 today. This basically kills communications for the entire set of inverters. Like, I don't know, I followed the instructions, but the sinking feeling of there's nothing I can do to make it better and I'm just spinning my wheels sums up really this entire project. You get looking at it and you start thinking about what you could have possibly done wrong, because like, I know I'm not infallible. I know I am an idiot sometimes. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm not beyond being an idiot. But I don't think I'm being an idiot here. I think this is just broken. Or maybe it needs a couple magic number power cycles. Maybe it needs exactly 2 or 3 Wi-Fi resets. Maybe it needs someone tunneling in from SolarEdge to be able to be like, oh, there was this thing that was turned off on the board. We'll turn that back on. There is so much that is opaque and unfixable from my perspective about SolarEdge's stuff. And I'd like to be doing more productive things. I'd like to not be coming out and fixing SolarEdge stuff constantly. I'd like to not have to whine about SolarEdge. But here we are. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this video. I don't have more to add. You've seen enough. I'm just gonna end up continuing to whine. And nobody wants to hear that. So until next time, stay shiny, if at all possible. And boy, of all the days to be stuck outside doing this stuff, this is, quite frankly, the best one I could possibly hope for. It is freaking gorgeous. And you are too, dear watcher. Have a good one. Stay shiny.
Much later.
So hey, guess what? Like about 20-25 minutes later, this finally started communicating. I was able to get to Wi-Fi just fine.